Ladies and gentlemen, check out the segment I did prior to this one. The Durham probe is going to produce a, quote, large volume of classified discovery in Steele dossier source case. This is the Igor Danchenko indictment. So for the indictment of Igor Danchenko, this is the second one. The first indictment was Kevin Kleinsmith, the bureau attorney that lied to a FISA judge. Could you imagine really quickly, if Trump or his administration went after their direct political rivals with a dossier and a whole bunch of nonsense that was fabricated and purchased and surveillance that was obtained because Trump and others, and Rudy Giuliani and others hired tech executives? Could you imagine if the roles were reversed, if the script were flipped, if the shoe were on the other foot, and there was a bureau official during President Trump's administration? Well, actually, let's see. When did... I believe it was 2016. That's right. So it was during President Obama's administration, where Kleinsmith... So during Trump's administration, if the tables were turned, a bureau official lying to a FISA judge to obtain information on a Democrat, on somebody that was linked to the Clinton campaign. Could you imagine what the Washington Post and the New York Times and MSNBC and CNN would say? Anyway, it's important to look at the Durham probe from that angle as well. But a very important element of all of this is the following. Igor Danchenko, the second indictment, who was indicted on false statements he made pertaining to the Steele dossier. Okay? So the Steele dossier was completely a bunch of nonsense, garbage. It is a fabricated, document full of lies, deceitful statements. Okay, it was obtained and purchased, literally purchased, by the DNC and Clinton's campaign through an attorney, by the way, who is also in legal jeopardy, but attorneys numerous, just like Michael Sussman, or not in the same manner as Michael Sussman, because he's indicted, Sussman is, but the attorneys at that law firm face numerous, let's just say, potential legal issues with the Durham probe. They served as conduits. They served as middlemen in between the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and people like Igor Danchenko and Michael Sussman. Igor Danchenko and James Baker. So there were government officials, and then there were people that they hired. So you have the Durham probe looking at the Clinton campaign, the DNC, anyone associated with them, hiring and working with attorneys, tech executives, government officials, all for the same cause. The problem now, and I've explained this before in a number of my segments, is that the government officials want to be removed from the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and all the attorneys and tech executives and tech people and, third-party firms and corporations that were utilized against Trump. The government officials want to say that they were duped. So James Baker at the Bureau is saying, I didn't know. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. We're almost at 200,000 subs. People, we're going to have a monumental live stream at 200,000 subs. And with my luck, it'll be like 199,999. And then I'll have the live stream. It'll go to like 198. But no, I don't think that'll happen. We'll have a monumental live stream at 200,000 subs. People, tell your friends about this channel. Let's get to 200,000 subscribers, people. I want to do a live stream soon. We'll definitely do one at 200,000 subs. So tell your friends. Tell your friends, ladies and gentlemen. Tell anyone you know who word of mouth is the best thing you can do for this channel or my work. But if you want to support my work, also my Patreon is below. But ladies and gentlemen, the thousands and thousands of pages of classified documents, large volume of classified documents that Durham will produce and release during discovery. Okay. The government officials, whether it's Clapper, Brennan, especially James Comey, especially Andrew McCabe, especially Peter Strzok, and also Brennan and Clapper, for sure, they want to distance themselves from the people that wanted to undermine Trump. They wanted to undermine Trump as well, but the defense for all of these indicted people, whether it's Kleinsmith, well, Kleinsmith was a government official, so it's a little bit different, but Danchenko and Sussman will have similar defenses in the courtroom, okay? They'll have similar defenses. They will say, well, we didn't lie. The government knew. Government officials knew that the information wasn't accurate, but they didn't care. They wanted to go after Trump. The government officials will say, wait a second, we didn't want to go after Trump. We were duped. We were just trying to protect the country. We were trying to protect the country from Facebook ads and influence from a hostile foreign nation. And there's going to be this back and forth. Now, of course, there's going to be an emphasis on technicalities or bureaucracy. Government officials will say, well, the protocol is we look at this information, and if the source of this information tells us it's accurate, and we believe that there's some kind of ongoing problem, then we'll investigate. And the people like Sussman and Igor Danchenko will be like, well, we were paid to do political espionage or paid by a campaign. We gave the information to media. It was circulated throughout media. Journalists believed that it was accurate or that it was important. Government officials, in addition to James Baker, believed that it was important. So you can't say that we were trying to just undermine Trump, because the whole planet was saying that what we produced was very important and insightful and part of protecting the country. Because, it's been established already that the Kremlin wanted to interfere in 2016. Well, it hasn't been established, number one. What Durham has to find out also, in addition to pitting both sides against one another, the government officials saying they were duped and they wouldn't have investigated had they known the true motives of people like Danchenko or Sussman or others. And then Danchenko and Sussman saying, hey, you know what? We didn't deceive anybody. They were in on it. In addition to all of this, the Durham probe has to find out, and it's very simple, because within this process, they will find out that the fabricated notion, the completely contrived, absurd propaganda spin that Democrats lost in 2016 because of the Kremlin wanting Trump. First of all, if you looked at the DNC emails, you know that Clinton elevated Trump. She wanted to elevate Ted Cruz, Trump, and Ben Carson. That's in one of the DNC or Clinton campaign emails. Okay? So, nobody talks about the Clinton campaign emails, the DNC emails, the foundation emails. Nobody talks about this. And we live in a democracy with essentially state-run media. The state being a political party. So the political party is the Democratic Party. And media goes to bat, protects, serves as a public relations monstrosity for Democrats. They are going to go after the New York Post if the New York Post, and suspend and silence the New York Post if they break the story of the laptop belonging to President Exumbadi's son. And they are going to elevate nonsense about the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was the definition of fake news, but it was published and championed by every publication that now complains about information that could harm people. So all Durham has to do is one thing primarily, but also another thing. And it's not difficult at all to do. He has two sides he's going to get these convictions. Well, especially Kleinsmith is different because he's a government official. He's going to get these convictions by pitting two sides against one another that were formerly in unison, that formerly had a symbiotic relationship. Sussman and Danchenko didn't deceive anyone, really. In their defense, they simply gave information to government officials who wanted to be given that information. Durham now has to, with the classified data, pit both sides against one another. Okay, in reality, the Sussman, Sussman and Danchenko, they didn't really deceive. They did lie, though, under oath, but they didn't deceive government officials because the government officials were in on it. James Comey was in on it. He was in on the whole thing. So you can't say that the head of the FBI didn't know the Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton. Of course he did. So, I mean, this is not... See, Democrats hide and media hides within plausible deniability. Well, we didn't know. And then with Trump, he has something in his tax returns. We just know it. You haven't seen his tax returns yet. Oh, isn't it? And then they do this kind of thing. Isn't it weird that he has so much money in that country? Actually, he doesn't. But they keep on... So they utilize these innuendos and these baseless allegations against Trump, where they don't allow him to hide within they don't allow him to utilize any plausible deniability. But with them, if you don't prove without a shadow of a doubt that they set up and framed Trump, even though everything you see shows that they set up and framed Trump, you can't prove anything. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. That's what Durham has to do. This is huge news pertaining to the classified data.